What's up guys? Quick little intro to the intro. Don't worry, this is not my actual background, it's my normal background. But there's one thing that I forgot to mention in the video. There's a few horror remakes out there that I have not seen, like Poltergeist. There's a couple others. Somebody actually mentioned like American Psycho 2, which that wouldn't technically be a remake. But you know, my point being is there's probably going to be a couple of these that aren't on the list just because I haven't seen them, and if I haven't seen the movie, then of course I'm not going to put it on the list. Also, I'm going to try to make it where I put at least one ranking out a week because it seems like you guys really like these. They're really great for the channel, and you guys are actually giving me a lot of great ideas. So usually what I'll do is I'll actually just take my phone, and if you guys shoot me something like, say in the comments, I'll usually snapshot it, and I'll even show you like an example right here. Torres guy right here. This was in one of my posts that I made, because sometimes I'll do like channel posts, and he says I should do a top 10 chase scenes in horror history. So Torres, that is a great idea. I'll probably do that. And the way I remember that and remember to give people credit is I snapshot it here. Thank you guys for all the great ideas. Thank you for watching these videos. I enjoy making them for you. So much so that I've made a second playlist. I have a rankings playlist. If you go to my Drumdums homepage, you will see that rankings playlist right there on the front. But I made a second one for my biggest mistakes and gets right videos that I'm doing for all the major franchises. A lot more of those to come. Scream Gets Right is coming soon. But right there on the front page, Drumdums front page of my channel, you can find that playlist for your convenience. So anyway guys, that's enough of my babbling. Enjoy the video. What's up guys? Last year I did my top 10 best remakes, and I might have done 2 videos for that. I'm not sure, I'll have to look. But we never recovered the worst. So we're gonna do the worst remakes of all time. Let's do this. What is up guys? It's time for another top 10. Having a lot of fun doing these. Like I said, I'm gonna do these like once a week. But for this week, we're doing worst horror remakes. And doing my research for this, as much as I don't like bad remakes, there aren't that many of them in my book. Like I had a tough time coming up with 10 really bad remakes. So I would say number 10 and maybe 9, maybe 8 will be movies I actually like, but they're just, you know, they fall into that position. 5 and on, maybe 6, are gonna be some real stinkers, okay? So I do got some really bad ones in here. So don't think that my number 10 is a movie that I hate with a fiery purple passion. It might be a movie that I actually like. And I came damn close to putting the Friday the 13th remake on here, but I'm a man of my word, and I remember in a video I said it's not a movie that's gonna go on my like worst remakes of all time. And it barely didn't make it because the characters in that movie might have put it on here. But luckily there's some greatness in that movie, especially in like Derek Mears. I like the cinematography, I like the first 20 minutes, all that good stuff. I'll give it a mention here. I guess it would kind of be an honorable mention, just because some of the characters, especially like Trent and those two, the 2 guys that I don't even like remember their names. Yeah, those were horrible characters, but just a lot of the characters were really like annoying. And I think when you try too hard with your characters, I've said this, that these characters feel like they're trying to be super bad in a Friday the 13th movie, and it didn't work for me. But anyway, I've talked long enough about Friday the 13th. I guess that will be an honorable mention. It doesn't make the list though, so I'm still a man of my word. So anyway, number 10, Night of the Demons. And right off the bat, I like the remake of Night of the Demons. It's a fun movie, and that's pretty much what it is. It's very superficial, and the reason I put it on here is because when you compare it to the original, which I hold near and dear and sacred to my heart, it doesn't even compare. You know, it is a very superficial movie. It does have some nice little Easter eggs for Night of the Demons throughout, but I think it's ultimately forgettable. Got a lot of eye candy in it, I'll definitely give it that. But it's not a movie that I've found myself wanting to go back and watch over and over. But like I said, it's a good movie, it's a fun movie. So don't think I hate the remake of Night of the Demons, I don't. Which brings me to number 9, another movie that I don't hate, but it does make this list, is Fright Night. And there is, I'd say, one big reason why Fright Night's on this list. The casting of Peter Vincent in this movie was atrocious. What Roddy McDowall brought to that character was pretty much every bit as good as Loomis. He was that effective as Peter Vincent. And David Tennant, I don't think was anywhere near. And I know you don't want to copy what was done before, but you still want to be as effective, and I don't think he was effective at all. So that's kind of what puts him on this list. I actually liked Colin Farrell in the role. I liked the great late Anton Yelchin. Rest in peace, good sir. But really, I guess David Tennant put that movie on this list. It's a ultimately forgettable Fright Night movie, and it doesn't even compare to the original. So I guess that's why it's on here. Number 8 is a movie that is so forgettable that I don't remember it at all, but I know I watched it, so I put it on the list. The Invasion, which is a remake of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is a classic. And The Invasion is just so bland and boring and not scary at all. And you'd think when you put these heavyweight actors in a movie like this, like Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig, that would translate to a great horror movie, but it doesn't. I mean, look at Tom Cruise with The Mummy. Same deal. Oh my God. I could have put The Mummy on here. It literally just came to me right now. But The Invasion, it's just so forgettable, it's not even really worth talking about. Nobody ever talks about The Invasion. And so I guess 8B would be The Mummy. I'll just put it right here because I just talked about The Mummy, but I love the Brendan Fraser Mummy. And I know that itself is a remake of the original from the 1930s. That's a really fun remake though. But the Tom Cruise one, it's a CGI shitfest is what it is. And Tom Cruise had this sidekick character that was so annoying and nobody wanted him in the screen whatsoever. And I hated him. And this movie was pretty much treated like an action movie. It wasn't a horror movie at all. And before this movie came out, even when it was announced, I was constantly shouting at the mountaintop, make this a horror movie. For God's sake, give us a Mummy horror movie. If you're gonna do another Mummy movie, we've already done the fun one with Brendan Fraser. Now let's have a horror movie. They didn't do that, and they fell on their face. Okay, now number 7, Rob Zombie's Halloween. It's a shame too because you know how much I love Halloween. It's my favorite franchise. Rob Zombie's Halloween sits near the bottom of my ranking for the franchise just because I really don't like the characters and the first half of this movie. Second half does have some nice moments in there, but even the second half doesn't compare to Carpenter's original. But the first half, to open up the movie with Ronnie screaming his head off, this white trash family. Michael Myers does not come from a white trash family. You can remake Halloween all day, but that's one of the core elements you want to keep there, is that Myers is from a normal suburban family. That's what makes him scary. That's what makes him creepy. But if you make him from this white trash family, which is very possible for a serial killer, then you don't have Michael Myers. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like the first half of this movie at all, and it's one of those movies that every time I watch it, I get mad at it. Number 6, another forgettable movie, The Hitcher. I seen The Hitcher remake one time. I love Sean Bean. Sean Bean was decent as the character, but there are certain movies that I think you don't remake unless you got a really damn good reason to do it. And John Ryder just made my number 1 for Underrated Horror Villains Part 2, played by Rutger Hauer. To try to even remake that movie is almost a crime because you're always going to be second place to it. There's no way you could top that movie. It's just that good. After I got finished with The Hitcher, I was like, okay, they pretty much gave us, not a shot-for-shot remake, but they borrowed a lot of the great elements from that movie, but they didn't make it as effective. So, in the end, it makes this list. Number 5, a movie that just came out in January of this year, The Grudge, which from the trailer looked like it could be a good movie, but then the execution was completely horrible. They had 3 different timelines in this movie that nobody cared about whatsoever. So by the time the movie ended, it was just a waste of time. I didn't care about anything that was going on in this movie. It was just probably the most superficial, forgettable Grudge movie that you could possibly imagine. And the cinematography looked like it could be really scary. There's that scene with Lynn Shay and her hands cut off. There are some creepy moments in the movie, but it just didn't have the charm of the original. Okay, now we're getting to some really bad crap, okay? Number 4 is The Fog. And if I'm already saying The Fog right now, then you know that there's some really, really bad stuff ahead of The Fog. Because The Fog could be like number 1 on this list and you wouldn't be mad at me. Nobody ever says they like The Fog remake. Anytime I hear bad remakes come up, one of the first things I hear is The Fog. To take something that's so great and so creepy like the original Fog, there's just this atmosphere in the original that's just so unmatched. And what's crazy is like it's all practical. Whereas the remake depended a lot on like CGI. But then this is one of those cases where more doesn't automatically mean better, because they tried to tell more of that backstory and then they tried to interweave this like love story with the ghosts, which why in the hell would you do that? Because that takes away the fear element. It takes away how scary these ghosts are. Whereas the ghosts in the first movie, the original movie, are so effective. You know, it's tough to get me scared by a ghost movie anyway, because it's not something that you could reach out and touch. In the original movie, they literally could touch you. They could take knives and stab you right in the freaking chest. This movie was so stupid. Number 3, Psycho. This is an abomination. Like, this is a shot-for-shot remake. And I try to be fair and objective about this movie. It looks nice, but when you're gonna do the exact same movie as Alfred Hitchcock's classic, there better be a good reason, because that's really what it is. And it makes me wonder, like, if somebody didn't see the original, if they saw this one the first time, if they actually liked it. But also, Anthony Perkins, as much as I love Vince Vaughn in comedies, and he is a decent actor in dramas, you just can't compete with Anthony Perkins. Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates is untouchable, and you didn't have that in this at all. Okay, number 2, for years and years and years and years, I would have stated that this would be number 1. I hate this movie with that much of a purple passion. That is Prom Night. I think the Prom Night remake embodies everything that you don't want in a remake. And it commits a crime. It literally takes the name Prom Night and that's it. It doesn't give you any resemblance of the same story at all. It's theft. It completely steals the name. And it gives you this like teeny bopper going to the prom movie. And there's so many moments in this movie where I'm just like screaming at the screen. I'm angry with it because it feels like a different type of movie. The killer in this movie, I think, is actually pretty effective. And if you put him in a different movie, then that would have been nice. And you know, Idris Elba is in this movie. But this embodies everything that you'd hate about PG-13 horror movies, especially slashers. Because every single kill in this movie is a cutaway. You don't see any of the kill shots whatsoever. And if you're gonna do that in a slasher movie, then what's the point? And look, there are horror movies that you just don't like, and then you're done with them and you go on with your life. And then there's horror movies that you get mad at. I get mad at this movie for some reason. When I watch it, I hate it. And what movie could ever top this movie? Black Christmas. I cannot believe this freaking movie. It just came out this last December. I didn't think it was gonna be that great anyway because of the way it was marketed. You know, right in the trailer, they give you who the killer was. That's just one of my biggest issues with the movie. There's two big issues that I have with this movie. One is the character Billy. There's no Billy in this movie whatsoever. That's like not utilizing Michael Myers in a Haddonfield Halloween story with characters like Laurie Strode and blah, blah, blah. That's pretty much what they did with this movie. They made it this like generic, superficial apparition of a killer, this cult type thing that's so forgettable that you don't care at all. And then this movie was an agenda, people. I mean, there's a way to represent strong women in horror movies, and they do it all the time. The 80s did it with just about every slasher movie. They rejoiced in strong women. So why was this needed? You know, like why even make this big agenda about this movie when it's not even necessary? The way to do it was with nuance. Not beating the audience over the head, not insulting the audience's intelligence, and ultimately just pointing a finger at men. Not the way to do it at all. And I hated this movie so much that I didn't buy it when it came out, And it happens to be a Black Christmas movie, which is like one of my favorite properties. And usually I'll buy those movies, even the bad ones, but I couldn't even buy this movie because I hated it so much. Now, having said that, you know, I've stated that on Killer Flicks, and then I've had some people comment saying, hey, I like the movie, and they almost get offended, like I'm saying they're wrong for not liking this movie. And if you liked this movie, guys, I'm completely happy for you. I'm glad you liked it. One man's trash is another man's treasure, I say. And if there was something about this movie, hell, maybe even the agenda worked for you. And if it did, that's great. But for me, I really hated it. So anyway, guys, that's it. That's my top 10 worst remakes. What are your least favorite remakes? Looking forward to hearing them. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays. We do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and Drumdum out.